Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm Kerry. Today I'll be showing you how to crochet a pram. Made in the larger size using 8-ply wool, this one here, it measures 11.5 centimetres by 13 centimetres or 4.5 inches by 5 inches. The smaller pram, made in 4-ply crochet cotton, is 7.5 centimetres by 9 centimetres or 2 3/4 inches by 3.5 inches. I'll be using 8-ply wool today, which is light worsted in the US and double knit in the UK. Just to make it easier for you to see, I'll be using a 2.5mm crochet hook. I use a much smaller crochet hook when I'm working appliques than I would if I was using the same wool for a blanket. If I was crocheting a blanket, I'd use a 4mm crochet hook with the 8-ply wool. I've got my scissors, a darning needle to weave in the ends, sewing thread and a needle to stitch it together, and I'll be using one pink bead for the middle of the flower. Now I'm going to start with the carriage at the bottom, and using my main colour I work 8 chain. For row 1 I work 2 single crochet into the second chain from the hook. A single crochet is called a double crochet in the UK. For a single crochet I put my hook in through the stitch and bring back a loop, yarn around the hook and take the hook with this yarn at the end through the 2 loops. And then I work one more single crochet into that same stitch. Now I'm going to work one single crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and then 2 single crochet into the last stitch, and I'll have 9 stitches. So one single crochet into each stitch to the last stitch. And then work 2 single crochet into the last stitch. For row 2 we start with 1 chain and turn our work over, and we work 2 single crochet into the first stitch, 1 single crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and work 2 single crochet into the last stitch, and we'll have 11 stitches. So 2 single crochet into the first stitch, 1 single crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and then work 2 single crochet into the last stitch. For row 3 we start with 1 chain and turn. We work 2 single crochet into the first stitch, 1 single crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and work 2 single crochet into the last stitch, and we'll have 13 stitches. So start with 2 single crochet into the first stitch, 1 single crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and then work 2 single crochet into the last stitch. For row 4, we start with 1 chain and turn. We work 2 single crochet into the first stitch, 1 single crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and 2 single crochet into the last stitch, and we'll have 15 stitches. So 2 single crochet into the first stitch, 1 single crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and 2 single crochet into the last stitch. For row 5, we start with 1 chain and turn our work. We work 2 single crochet into the first stitch, 1 single crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and 2 single crochet into the last stitch, and we'll have 17 stitches. So 2 single crochet into the first stitch, and 1 single crochet into each stitch to the last stitch. And 2 single crochet into the last stitch. For row 6, we start with 1 chain and turn. We work 2 single crochet into the first stitch, 1 single crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and 2 single crochet into the last stitch, and we'll have 19 stitches. So 2 single crochet into the first stitch, 1 single crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and 2 single crochet into the last stitch. For row 7, we start with 3 chain and turn our work. We're going to work 2 double crochet into the first stitch A double crochet is called a treble in the UK. For a double crochet we put the yarn around the hook, hook into the stitch and bring back a loop, yarn around the hook, take the hook with our yarn through 2 loops, yarn around the hook, take our hook with the yarn through 2 more loops. And we need another double crochet in the same stitch. Then we're going to work 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. A half double crochet is called a half treble in the UK. For a half double crochet we put the yarn around the hook, hook into the stitch and bring through a loop, yarn around the hook, take the hook with the yarn through all the loops. And then we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch to the last 2 stitches. So a single crochet into each stitch till we have 2 stitches left. Now I've got 2 stitches left. I work 1 half double crochet into the next stitch and 2 double crochet into the last stitch. Now that's the carriage part done, except for the neatening row. For the neatening row we start with 1 chain and we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So we just find a suitable place to put our hook in, not too far from the edge, and work our single crochet. Now I'll just continue around. I'll crochet in the tail as I go around, so I'll hold it against my work and crochet over the top of it, and I'll crochet right the way around across the top, and then I'll meet you when I'm at the end of the row. At the end of the row we slip stitch in the top of the first stitch and fasten off. And that's the carriage part done. For this white trim at the top, you join your contrast colour in the first stitch along the top. I'll be using white again, and work 2 chain, and then we're going to work 1 half double crochet into each stitch across. For a half double crochet we put the yarn around the hook, hook into the stitch and bring through a loop, yarn around the hook and take the hook with the yarn through the 3 loops on our hook. And we work a half double crochet into each stitch along the top. I'm crocheting in the tail, so I'm holding it against my work and crocheting over the top of it. And I've worked a half double crochet right across the top. So now I fasten off, and that's the carriage done. For the handle, I join my contrast cotton to the top of the first stitch, and work 9 chain. I work 1 single crochet into the second chain from the hook, then work 2 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, that will just give it the bend, and then I work 1 single crochet into each remaining chain. I slip stitch in the next stitch along the trim and fasten off. And that's the handle done. Now for the inner wheel and spokes, using our main colour, we make a magic loop. For a magic loop, you can start by making a chain and pulling it loose instead of tight, or put your hook on your yarn, bring the short end over the hook, and then take the long end over the short end, yarn around the hook, and take your hook with the yarn through, and there's your magic loop. And we work 1 chain and work 8 single crochet into our circle. I've got my 8 single crochet, so I pull my circle tight. I take hold of the tail and just ease it in as tight as I can. And I join with a slip stitch in the top of the first stitch. For a slip stitch, I put my hook into the stitch and bring through a loop and take it straight through the loop on my hook. And my circle's joined. I start on the spokes now. So I start with 5 chain, that counts as my first double crochet and 2 chain. Then I work a double crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 chain, and I repeat that round the circle. I'll have 8 spokes. Now I've got my 8 spokes, so I work 2 chain and I slip stitch into the 3rd chain, just in there, and fasten off. And that's the inner wheel done. I'll just weave in those ends to make it easier for you to see the outer wheel. Now for the outer wheel, we join into any of our double crochet. And work 1 chain. Then we're going to work a single crochet into each stitch round. Now you could work 2 single crochet into each chain space, but I like to work into the stitch, so I've got the tiny little bit of the rim showing. So I work a single crochet into that first double crochet and then just work a single crochet into each stitch. I'm crocheting in the tail. So I'll just continue working around a single crochet into each stitch, and I'll be back at the end of the row. At the end of the row, we slip stitch in the top of the first stitch and fasten off. and we'll need another wheel work the same. Now for the end of the handle there, using my main colour, I make a magic loop and work one chain and work 4 single crochet into my circle. I pull the circle tight and slip stitch in the top of the first stitch. And fasten off. And I've got a small circle. For the hood, using my main colour, I make a magic loop and work 3 chain and work 4 double crochet into my circle. A double crochet is a treble in the UK. I pull the circle tight, but I don't join. For row 2, I start with 3 chain and turn my work over, and I work 2 double crochet into each stitch. For row 3, I start with 3 chain and turn my work and work 1 double crochet in the first stitch. Now I work 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 2 double crochet into the following stitch, and I repeat that to the end of the row. So 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 2 double crochet into the following stitch, and repeat that to the end of the row. For row 4, I start with 2 chain and turn. I work 1 half double crochet into each of the first 2 stitches. And then work 2 half double crochet into the next stitch. Now I work 1 double crochet into the next stitch, 2 double crochet into the following stitch, one double crochet into the next stitch, and 2 double crochet into the following stitch. Now I work 1 treble into the next stitch. A treble is called a double treble in the UK. For a treble, you put your yarn around the hook twice, hook into the stitch and bring through a loop. yarn around the hook, take your hook with the yarn at the end through 2 loops, yarn around the hook, through the next 2 loops, yarn around the hook and take it through the remaining 2 loops. Then we work 2 treble into the next stitch, one treble into the following stitch, and 2 treble into the last stitch. And that's the hood done, except for a neatening row. Now we start with 1 chain, and we're going to turn our work before the neatening row because our hood will go that way. And we work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So starting along our quarter circle piece and then across the bottom and up the top. So I'll work my neatening row and join with the slip stitch, and then I'll weave in my end and I'll be back and we'll start on the trim. The hood's finished. I'm going to work that little trim along the edge of the hood. So I join about the second stitch from the bottom, and I work 1 chain and I slip stitch into the next stitch, and I repeat that up to the top, 1 chain and slip stitch into the next stitch. And once I get to the top, I fasten off. Now these markings are just strips of chain. I leave a bit of an end tail on the end and I just work some chain just enough to fit from that corner to the edge, and then I leave a bit of a tail on the end just to fasten it. So I need 4. They'll have to be slightly different lengths because it's a little bit longer up there with the treble instead of the half treble on this other end. So that's 2 worked. I'll work 2 more. Now we'll start on this little flower here. We make a magic loop and work 1 chain. Into the circle we work 1 slip stitch and 1/2 double crochet 5 times. So a slip stitch and a 1/2 double crochet. So I'll need 3 more petals of a slip stitch and a 1/2 double crochet. Pull the circle tight and slip stitch into the first stitch. And fasten off. Now I'll just work another wheel and a couple more hood markings and weave in my ends, and I'll be back and we'll put it together. Now here's all my pieces. I've got the carriage, the hood markings, the 2 wheels of the flower and the handle end. The first things I'll do is attach the handle end to the handle on there, and I'll attach the markings evenly across the hood. I just attach them at each end with the tail, and then I'll stitch them on with cotton. Next I attach the hood to the carriage. I put the right sides together and stitch along the top there and then fold it back out. The last things I'll do is attach the wheels to the carriage about there, and I attach the flower with the bead just at the join of the hood and the carriage. So I'll do those and I'll be back to show you the finished pram. And there's the finished pram. If you've liked my video, please like, subscribe and share. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest and Twitter. The details are in the description below, along with the details of my website where I have my patterns, my Facebook group, and I've recently started up a Patreon account to enable us to keep the website and YouTube channel going. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.